Hi everyone, welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie and today we are on day 28. I'd like to welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here and I hope you're having a fantastic day today. Today we're going to be reading out of Genesis 29. Then we're going to finish the book of Esther. We're going to be reading Esther 9 and chapter 10. Then we're going to move on to Luke chapter 13, but today we're only going to be reading verses 18 through 35. And then we'll close out the day with Psalm 22, verses 1 through 8. So let's get started in Genesis chapter 29. Then Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the children of the east. He looked and saw a well in the field, and saw 3 flocks of sheep lying there by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. The stone on the well's mouth was large. There all the flocks were gathered. They rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the sheep, and put the stone back on the well's mouth in its place. Jacob said to them, "My relatives, where are you from?" They said, "We are from Haran." He said to them, "Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor?" They said, "We know him." He said to them, "Is it well with him?" They said, "It is well. See, Rachel his daughter is coming with the sheep." He said, "Behold, it is still the middle of the day, not time to gather the livestock together. Water sheep and go and feed them." They said, "We can't until all the flocks are gathered together and they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we will water the sheep." While he was yet speaking to them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. When Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's relative and that he was Rebekah's son. She ran and told her father. When Laban heard the news of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet Jacob and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban all these things. Laban said to him, "Surely you are my bone and my flesh." Jacob stayed with him for a month. Laban said to Jacob, "Because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what will your wages be?" Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in form and attractive. Jacob loved Rachel. He said, "I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter." Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to another man. Stay with me." Jacob served 7 years for Rachel. They seemed to him but a few days for the love he had for her. Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go into her." Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. In the evening he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to Jacob. He went in to her, and Laban gave Zilpah, his servant, to his daughter Leah for a servant. In the morning, behold, it was Leah. He said to Laban, "What is this that you have done to me? Didn't I serve you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me?" Laban said, "It is not done so in our place, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill the week of this one, and we will give you the other also for the service which you will serve with me for 7 more years. Jacob did so and fulfilled her week. He gave him Rachel, his daughter, as wife. Laban gave Bilhah, his servant, to his daughter Rachel to be her servant. He went in also to Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him 7 more years. Yahweh saw that Leah was hated, and he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Leah conceived and bore a son, and she named him Reuben, for she said, "Because Yahweh has looked at my affliction, for now my husband will love me." She conceived again and bore a son, and said, "Because Yahweh has heard that I am hated, he has therefore given me this son also." She named him Simeon. She conceived again and bore a son. She said, "Now this time my husband will be joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons." Therefore his name was called Levi. She conceived again and bore a son. She said, "This time I will praise Yahweh." Therefore she named him Judah. And then she stopped bearing. All right, moving on to Esther chapter 9 and 10, where we'll finish the book of Esther. I have to say I'm just a little bit sad because I really do enjoy this book. I could read it over and over again. All right, here we go, starting with chapter 9. Now in the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the month, when the king's commandment and his decree came near to be put in execution, on the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to conquer them, but it turned out that the opposite happened, that the Jews conquered those who hated them. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus to lay hands on those who wanted to harm them. No one could withstand them, because the fear of them had fallen on all the people. All the princes of the provinces, the local governors, and those who did the king's business helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai had fallen on them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces, for the man Mordecai grew greater and greater. The Jews struck all their enemies with the stroke of the sword and with the slaughter and destruction, and did what they wanted to those who hated them. In the citadel of Susa, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. They killed Parshandatha, Dalphon, Aspatha, Poratha, Adalia, Aridatha, Parmashta, Erisai, Aridai, and Vaisatha, the 10 sons of Haman, the sons of Hammedatha, the Jews' enemy, but they didn't lay their hand on the plunder. On that day, the number of those who were slain in the citadel of Susa was brought before the king. The king said to Esther the queen, "The Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in the citadel of Susa, including the 10 sons of Haman that have what then have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now, what is your petition? It shall be granted to you. What is your further request? It shall be done." Then Esther said, "If it pleases the king, let it be granted to the Jews who are in Susa to do tomorrow also according to today's decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged on the gallows." The king commanded this to be done. A decree was given out in Susa, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. The Jews who were in Susa gathered themselves together on the 14th day, also of the month of Adar, and killed 300 men in Susa, but they didn't lay their hand on the plunder. The other Jews who were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together, defended their lives, had rest from their enemies, and killed 75,000 of those who hated them, but they didn't lay a hand on the plunder. This was done on the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of that month rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews who were in Susa assembled together on the 13th day and on the 14th days of the month and on the 15th day of the month. They rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore, the Jews of the villages who live in the unwalled towns make the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, a holiday, and a day of sending presents of food to one another. Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters to all the Jews who were in the provinces of King Ahasuerus, both near and far, to enjoin them that they should keep the 14th and 15th days of the month Adar yearly, as the days in which the Jews had rest from their enemies, and the month which was turned to them from sorrow to gladness, and from mourning into a holiday, that they should make them days of feasting and gladness, and of sending presents of food to one another, and gifts to the needy. The Jews accepted the custom that they had begun, as Mordecai had written to them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast pur, that is, the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. But when this became known to the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked plan, which he had planned against the Jews, should return on his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows. Therefore they called these days Purim, from the word pur. Therefore, because of all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and that which had come to them, the Jews established and imposed on themselves, on their descendants, and on all those who joined themselves to them, so that it should not fail that they would keep these 2 days according to what was written, and according to its appointed time every year, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor their memory perish from their offspring. Then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew, wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. He sent letters to all the Jews in the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their appointed times, as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had decreed, and as they had imposed upon themselves and their descendants in the matter of the fastings and their mourning. The commandment of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. And this is chapter 10. Maybe the shortest chapter in the Bible. I'm not certain. Chapter 10. King Ahasuerus laid a tribute on the land and on the islands of the sea. Aren't all the acts of his power and of his might and the full account of the greatness of Mordecai to which the king advanced him written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia? For Mordecai the Jew was next to King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted by the multitude of his brothers. seeking the good of his people and speaking peace to all his descendants. What a fantastic book of history. Oh, I love it. But now we have finished and we're moving on to Luke chapter 13, verses 18 through 35. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Here we go. Jesus said, "What is God's kingdom like? To what shall I compare it? It is like a grain of a mustard seed, which a man took and put in his own garden. It grew and became a large tree, and the birds of the sky live in its branches." Again he said, "To what shall I compare God's kingdom? It is like yeast, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of flour until it was all leavened." He went on his way through cities and villages, teaching and traveling on to Jerusalem. One said to him, "Lord, are they few who are saved?" He said to them, "Strive to enter in by the narrow door, for many, I tell you, will seek to enter in and will not be able. When once the master of the house has risen up and has shut the door, and you begin to stand outside and to knock at the door, saying, 'Lord, Lord, open it to us,' then he will answer and tell you, 'I don't know you, or where you come from.' Then you will begin to say, 'We ate and drank in your presence, and you taught in our streets.' He will say, 'I tell you, I don't know where you come from. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity.' There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, and when you see Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and all the prophets in God's kingdom, and yourselves being thrown outside. They will come from the east, west, north, south, and will sit down in God's kingdom. Behold, there are some who are last who will be first, and there are some who are first who will be last." On that same day, some Pharisees came, saying to him, "Get out of here and go away, for Herod wants to kill you." He said to them, "Go and tell that fox, behold, I cast out demons and perform cures today and tomorrow, and the 3rd day I complete my mission. Nevertheless, I must go on my way today and tomorrow and the next day, for it can't be that a prophet would perish outside of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together, like a hen gathers her own brood under her wings, and you refused. Behold, your house is left to you desolate. I tell you, you will not see me until you say, 'Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'" Yeah, the frustration. Here he is, straight from heaven, speaking clearly. People are not listening. Psalm 22, 1 through 8. This was for excuse me and thank you. This was for the chief musician, set to the doe of the morning. And this is a psalm by David. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me and from the words of my groaning? My God, I cry in the daytime, but you don't answer. In the night season, and I am not silent. But you are holy, you who inhabit the praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in you. They trusted and you delivered them. They cried to you and were delivered. They trusted in you and were not disappointed. But I am a worm and no man, a reproach of men and despised by the people. All those who see me mock me. They insult me with their lips. They shake their heads, saying, "He trusts in Yahweh. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, since he delights in him." That touches a little close to home. Well, everybody, that concludes day 28. Thank you so much for joining me. Please come back for day 29. Just a heads up, I'm hearing there's something wonky that went on with YouTube back on January 8th, I think it was. And I have noticed in the channel some subscribers were lost. It's not just me. It's what I'm hearing with many people that have channels up on YouTube. But there was some kind of meddling with the algorithm. So please, if you have subscribed in the past, please just take a second, go back and make sure you're still subscribed and you weren't kicked off. If you were kicked off, please subscribe again and like and share. And I would really appreciate that. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Hold on to the words that we just read. And we will see you tomorrow for day 29. Bye.